NASA found liquid water on Mars in 2018. No breaking news alert. No White House press conference. No primetime special. They published it quietly in a science journal on a Wednesday afternoon, and the world moved on. I need you to stop and think about how deeply strange that is. Because liquid water on another planet is not a footnote. It is not a routine discovery buried in a science publication. Liquid water on Mars is the most significant finding in the history of space exploration, and it was announced with less fanfare than a new iPhone. Today, I am going to tell you exactly what they found, exactly why it matters, and exactly why the people who fully understand the implications of this discovery are not sleeping well at night. To understand what NASA found, you need to understand what Mars once was, because what it was makes what it is today almost impossible to process. 4 billion years ago, Mars and Earth were twins. Both had thick protective atmospheres. Both had active volcanic systems pumping heat and minerals into the environment. Both had clouds, rain, and weather. And Mars had oceans, not puddles, not patches of ice, real oceans. Deep, vast, churning oceans covering nearly a third of the planet's entire surface, with depths comparable to the Caribbean Sea. Scientists reconstructed the ancient Martian coastlines using orbital radar data, and what they found is staggering. The shorelines are still there, carved into the rock, stretching thousands of miles across the northern hemisphere, perfectly preserved in stone for 3 billion years. Fossilized edges of a sea that vanished before complex life had taken a single breath on Earth. The river valleys are even more haunting, hundreds of them, some longer than the Mississippi River, carved by fast-moving water, shaped by floods and currents, snaking across the landscape exactly like every river system you have ever seen from an airplane window. Bone dry for longer than our entire evolutionary branch has existed. So what killed Mars? It lost its magnetic field, and that single event set off a chain reaction that murdered an entire world. Earth's magnetic field is generated by the churning motion of our liquid iron core, a planetary engine that has been running for 4.5 billion years. That field wraps around the entire planet like an invisible electromagnetic shell, deflecting the solar wind. The constant, relentless stream of high-energy charged particles our sun fires into space at 1 million miles per hour, every second of every day, without pause. Mars's core cooled and solidified too quickly. The engine died, the shield collapsed, and the solar wind began systematically dismantling the Martian atmosphere, not in a dramatic explosion, not in a single catastrophic event. Slowly, patiently, molecule by molecule, over hundreds of millions of years, until the pressure dropped so low that liquid water became physically impossible. The oceans didn't boil away in some cinematic disaster. They quietly ceased to exist. Some water molecules escaped into space. Some froze into the polar ice caps. And for decades, the working assumption was that the rest simply vanished. A dead planet's dead water, lost to the void forever. That assumption was catastrophically wrong. In 2018, the European Space Agency fired a radar instrument called MARSIS Deep through the south polar ice cap of Mars. And what bounced back stopped the entire research team cold. A reflection, a bright, unmistakable radar reflection, the kind that only liquid water produces, sitting beneath 1.5 kilometers of solid ice. A subglacial lake, 20 kilometers wide at minus 68 degrees Celsius, kept liquid by the crushing weight of the ice above it and by perchlorate salts dissolved in it, acting as natural antifreeze and pushing the freezing point far below what pure water could ever survive. The team quietly checked their data for 2 full years before publishing, because the stakes were too enormous to get wrong. And when they finally published on a Wednesday in a journal, most of the world never heard about it. Here is what that discovery actually means, stated as plainly as possible. On Earth, scientists have found subglacial lakes beneath the Antarctic ice sheet in nearly identical conditions. Same total darkness, same crushing pressure, same salt content, same freezing temperatures, and those Antarctic lakes are not empty. They are filled with microbial life, living organisms sealed under ice for potentially millions of years, surviving entirely on chemistry, never once seeing sunlight. If life exists in those conditions on Earth, then the Martian lake is not a dead pool of pressurized brine. It is a habitat, a potential home, and that lake was not alone. Follow-up radar surveys identified 3 additional lakes surrounding it, a network, a hidden system of liquid water sitting beneath Martian ice right now, tonight, as you watch this. And the underground water story does not end at the poles. When NASA's Curiosity rover drilled into regular Martian surface rock, not ice, just ordinary ground, it found hydrated minerals locked inside. Minerals that chemically bond with water molecules and preserve them inside their crystalline structure. Water did not simply flow across the surface of Mars and disappear. It soaked into the crust. It bonded with the rock at a molecular level. It became part of the planet itself. A landmark study published in Science calculated that if you extracted every molecule of water currently locked in Martian minerals, stored in the polar caps, and pooled in those subglacial lakes, then spread it evenly across the planet's surface, it would generate a global ocean up to 1,500 meters deep. Mars is not a dry planet. Mars is a planet that hid its water underground. So why does this feel like a secret? Why is this not the conversation America is having every single day? Because the full implications go far beyond science, and everyone in that field understands it. Confirmed microbial life on Mars, even fossilized, even ancient, even a single cell, does not just update a textbook. It dismantles the foundational assumption that has quietly shaped human civilization for thousands of years. The assumption that life is rare, that we are special, that this one planet, out of hundreds of billions in this galaxy alone, was chosen. One data point proves nothing. 2 data points proves a pattern. And a pattern means the universe is overflowing with life, and we simply have not been listening long enough to hear it. The first humans who will stand on Martian soil are alive right now. They are training, studying, preparing, and they know exactly what they are going there to find. Not rocks, not dust. They are going to find out whether something lived in those ancient oceans, whether anything survived the catastrophe, whether something is still alive in the dark, salty, pressurized lakes beneath the ice waiting for 3 billion years for the first visitor to come knocking. Mars gave us the coastlines, the rivers, the lakes, the chemistry, the water. The only question it has not answered yet is the one that changes everything.